The afterlife. Does it exist? This is a common question asked amongst most, but why is it so secret? Welcome to Secrets Within, a show about all things paranormal straight from the investigator's mouth. No fluffy scripting here, just raw paranormal talk about ghosts, Bigfoot, black-eyed children, equipment, and more. Host Reeni Rodriguez is no stranger to the paranormal and has been fascinated for years. One of her longtime passions is being a medium and further developing her skills. She's also a certified Reiki master and paranormal investigator. Now, here is your host of Secrets Within, Reeni Rodriguez.
Welcome, everybody, to Secrets Within. Tonight, I'm going to discuss the Kathy Tucker case. I know some of you may have already heard about the case. We had a radio show a while back, Remember Me, and we discussed this case. So before, I just kind of want to let everybody know that this is just speculation. Some people that I've talked to, I don't want to say theories on it. Some people were there, some people were her friends, and so on and so forth. And I've looked up some articles. I'm not going to give you my intuitive feelings on it. And again, I'm just telling you, I just kind of want to keep the case kind of going because it is an unsolved case here in Minot, Illinois. So let's kind of get right into this. So Kathy Tucker died on December 2nd, 1978. So again, I wasn't alive at that point, but here we are. So anyways, she was 15 years old. Basically, she was seen all around town that night. She was dropped off up at the bowling alley by her dad at like 6 o'clock that evening. She was supposed to call home for a ride at 10:15. She was going to meet some of her friends. It's a small town, so obviously everybody kind of knows everybody. And everybody's kind of in each other's business. It's still kind of that way to this day. But again, there is people out there that are still alive that probably, honest to godly, know what happened. But nobody really wants to talk. So let's kind of see if there's somebody out there that is listening that kind of wants to give some kind of closure to, I guess, the town. Like I said, the town is very divided on this case. So again, she was dropped off up at the bowling alley at 6 o'clock. Going to meet her friends, supposed to call for a ride at 10:15. Now, there was a fire that night out in the country. I want to throw that out there, and we're going to get to that in just a second. So again, there was many accounts of seeing her at the IGA, obviously the bowling alley, and then the laundromat. Now, this was way obviously before cell phones, so it's not like you can just going to call her parents. I'm assuming there's payphones. I know there was a payphone. Not sure if it's still there or not. There was a payphone in the laundromat. So I'm assuming, hey, why not go into the laundromat? That night, and I do want to throw this out there. It was a huge snowstorm. Huge. It was foggy. It was sleeting, all that good jazz. So anyways, story goes on is she went ahead, supposed to call her parents at 10:15. She did not end up calling her parents at 10:15 for a ride home. Now, mind you, Minot's not that big, so she could have easily decided, well, hey, maybe I don't even know how much it costs to use a payphone, to be quite honest with you, maybe 25, 35 cents. I don't know. It's been so long ago. Like I said, we have cell phones now. So maybe she decided to walk home. I don't exactly know in Minelk where she lived. I'm not gonna worry about that too much. It's a small town, like I said. I know the town really well. I could probably walk that town. So, anyways, again, Wally Davis has been brought up, and he was seen talking to her in the laundromat. And I know somebody said, okay, it's odd because this was an older guy that was talking to a 15-year-old. And from what I'm understanding, she was really, really upset while she was talking on the phone. And I cannot tell you what time she was talking on the phone. Again, I wasn't there, and I really couldn't find a time on that. So, anyways, obviously the sirens go off. There is a fire outside of town in an old abandoned house about 7:30. Not a big deal, kind of odd. It used to be a party house, so a lot of people would, or a lot of kids, I should say, shouldn't say people, a lot of kids went and partied out there. But it would be kind of odd that night considering, I don't know, it it was just kind of one of those things. Like if there's a huge snowstorm, you really kind of wouldn't think that you'd be out partying. And honestly, I don't even know why you drop your kid off and say, well, hey, have a good time. I'll see you in a little bit. But it's a small town. You can walk it. It's not that big of a deal. Anyways, so of course they accused Wally Davis of her murder. But they found her dad found her the next day at the house fire obviously was put out. They found her the next day burnt, which the firemen out there was about 5 to 7, claim that her body was not there when they put out that fire. That is what they're claiming. Now, mind you, she was also stabbed. So I kind of want to go back to Wally Davis. Now, I don't want to accuse anybody of anything. I want to put that out there. But you can read old newspaper articles, which I have. And Wally Davis was already in trouble anyways for rape. Again, that is public knowledge. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. That's just public knowledge. And I can even post the article if anybody cares to read it. Anyways, I believe that it was a lot easier to pin it on him because supposedly, and I'm saying supposedly, because he was the last person to basically see her. Or somebody's seen them two together, okay? Now, again, she was tied. Her hands were tied behind her back. There was speculation that she was raped. But again, I wasn't there. And again, it was speculation. So this is where I'm having a little bit of an issue. Her dad found her the next day. He went to this house fire obviously was put out, and he finds his daughter at 11:30 a.m. the next day. So it's like 8 hours after he basically called and said that she was missing. And mind you, he called at 4:00 in the morning and said his daughter was missing. Now, I'm just kind of curious. I mean, back then, obviously we know that our parents had our friends' cell number, or I can't even say cell numbers, our friends' parents' phone numbers, because it's, they had house phones back then. Not that any kid now knows what a house phone is. But anyways, from what my understanding is Kathy's parents, or dad, I should say, went ahead, started calling all of her friends. They're like, nope, haven't seen her. She was with Wally. That's the last time we've seen her. But why wait until 4 o'clock in the morning to, like, I don't know, call and say your child's missing when she was supposed to call for a ride home at 10:15? That to me, that right there to me is a red flag. Now, in court, her dad did say, I had this epiphany that I was going to go look out there and see if my daughter, you know, was out there. Well, no offense, but that, me personally, that would have not have been the first place that I would have looked for my child at all. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, okay, maybe he just, in that 8 hours, he was just so tired and that was just like the last place that he looked. That is a good possibility. But here's where I'm having the issue. When Wally went to court, he had a soon-to-be ex-wife. She testified that Wally was drinking. Again, we can find all of this in a newspaper article, so it's not like I'm just giving you just some random fact here. I'm just telling you what I read. He was drinking, came home. Now, let's think about the time, 7:35, just really quickly. Just keep that in your mind. He left, or he came home, or whatnot. Came home drinking. He left again at 7:20. The fire alarms went off at 7:30. So anyways, how can I put this? He left. Okay, Wally left at 7:20 to supposedly to go up to the theater to basically quote unquote fix something at 7:20. Kathy Tucker's watch stopped at 7:35. Now, again, this is a small town. So earlier, my theory was in 20 minutes that he left his house, killed Kathy, stabbed her, okay, and then went ahead and, let's say, started her on fire, okay, in 20 minutes. No possible way. I couldn't even change a diaper in 20 minutes. Let's just be honest. But the truth of the matter is it wouldn't make any sense. So if he did kill her, and I'm saying if he did kill her, it would take him 20 minutes. You're going to say that in 20 minutes, you're going to tie somebody up. Maybe, again, speculation, maybe raped her, drove her out to this house fire, and then stabbed her at some point, and then started her on fire. That in 20 minutes in a snowstorm. To me, that didn't make any sense. After talking to a friend of mine earlier today, kind of had a little bit of a conversation, and he, again, was a friend of Kathy's, and he kind of, he shed some light on, the situation a little bit right before the show. Now, and there's a YouTube video on this, by the way, too. If you guys want to go look at that, it was interesting. It's short. The only problem that I'm having with this situation is I feel like the town kind of just said, well, it was Wally. That's the end of it. We're done. Okay. And I think that's where it's at. And I think a lot of people are like, nope, it was her dad. And right now I will say that I'm a little torn after this conversation because her body was supposedly found in a barn, according to this person. And I'm not going to name him by any means, even though he said I could, but I'm not going to. And it was only the bottom part of her body that was on fire. So again, we were bouncing some theories off of one another. So we came up with, again, and this is just theories because we were bouncing it off of one another. Maybe Wally started the fire, right? That gave him enough time to maybe in that before then kill Kathy, stash her body someplace, because obviously he's not going to leave her in his car, start that fire, put her body someplace, and perfect thing there. But this is where another issue lies here. And this is, again, where it gets a little sticky. Excuse me, my throat's a little sore. Is the fact that, again, this was a party house. Now, they're supposedly, and I'm saying this is all speculation, so if anybody's got any information, I would be, or any comments or whatever, post them in the chat. But there was kids supposedly out there that night, and I'm not going to give you the names of anybody that was out there. I know I was given names. I'm just not going to do that tonight. But supposedly they were out there. There was 3 kids. And they weren't seen for a week, a couple of days to a week after that fire. Supposedly one of the kids was burnt. So was there people out there that started that fire? I mean, a group of kids, and maybe it was kind of a spur of the moment type thing for Wally to kill somebody. Maybe like, okay, maybe I don't know what to do. Maybe I don't know where to put her. Maybe that wasn't his plan. Maybe I don't think it was like a planned thing anyways, regardless of who did it. But I do full-heartedly believe that some kids actually started that fire. But anyways, these kids were gone for however long, which again raises some red flags. So who started that fire? Now, they're not going to come forward and say, well, I did it, because again, you can be in a shit ton of trouble if you started a fire. Let's just be honest. Especially there was a person that owned that property, whether that place was not being used or whatnot. You still shouldn't be out there, even though, from what I'm understanding, this guy kind of knew that these kids were out there partying. So obviously it didn't bother this person that much. But like I said, there's so much speculation. So I also want to go back to her dad. Okay. So again, at first I was under the impression that her dad was seen with her when the alarm bells went off for that fire. Now, if that was the case, and that was at 7:30, something on that order, that would have given him 5 minutes. 5 minutes. So I really only think that maybe, just maybe, he dropped her off. And it kind of, like, again, there's so much speculation around this case, and I think there's so much misinformation. Now, the detective on the case, I will tell you this, I don't think he did a very good job, and I'm not going to name who he was. I do know that Wally may have been a very easy target, but here's where it got sticky. Wally was already in jail for this rape charge. So I'm going to take a really quick break, and I will finish it just on this charge. So I'll see you guys in just a couple minutes.
Have you ever longed for just one holiday with a loved one who has passed? Christina Bloom can help you and your family have that holiday. With her mediumship skills, she can contact your loved one on the other side and bring them through as the honored guest for your holiday celebration by conference call, video chat, or in person if local to the Southeast Wisconsin region. To schedule your holiday party with Spirit, email Christina at ChristinaBloom.com. That's Christina at ChristinaBloom.com.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I had to take a short break. And if you're just tuning in, we are actually talking about the Kathy Tucker case. So anyways, again, we were talking about Wally Davis already in jail for a rape charge. And supposedly, and I'm saying supposedly, he told his cellmate that he did it. Okay. And he wasn't going to confess until they decided that he was not guilty. Okay, so let's kind of analyze that for just a second. Now, if his cellmate kind of knew what he was already in there for, and maybe a new charge or whatnot, it would just be, is he trying to shave off some time himself? I mean, but again, I wasn't there. I didn't have that conversation. Now, I'm not saying that Wally was arrogant or anything like that, or it was even capable of murder, because we can't determine that he even murdered her. But again, I'm starting to wonder after this conversation that I had with somebody earlier today. So again, because at first, again, I was thinking to myself, if he was at home, and we're talking about Wally here, and he left his house at 7:20 to go uptown to the theater to work on something, it only gives him 20 minutes, and we're in a snowstorm here. And mind you, I don't know, I mean, maybe some of you guys don't live in Illinois, but I will tell you, when you get a snowstorm here, you get a snowstorm here, which we haven't had one for that, maybe not anything that major. So again, the town is very divided. I have some people who have told me it was her dad. Well, what was his motive? Why would he want to kill his own daughter? But, stranger things have happened. So again, I did hear, and again, this is all speculation, that Kathy Tucker's dad was basically thought that she was kind of like a disgrace to her family. Okay. Now let's factor this in. Drugs were involved. Okay. But I don't know what kind, and it doesn't really matter. That is besides the point. And then the other half think that it's Wally. And I really kind of believe in my own heart and the gut feeling that I'm getting, I don't believe that it was Wally. And I'm going to tell you why. I think he was an easy target. Very, very easy. Now, rape and murder are two different things. We all know this, but I cannot say that he didn't try to, kill somebody or, whatnot. But I guess what I'm saying is, to me, it just wouldn't make sense. So he's sitting there drinking, and then it's like, oh, all of a sudden he's like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and do this because I have nothing better to do that night. I can't say that that's not, I don't think it was like a premeditated thing by any means. All I'm trying to get at is, to me, the timeline just doesn't make any sense. And again, it was just ideas that I was bouncing off with a friend of mine. How does he have time to start a fire, tie someone up, supposedly rape them, and then start them on fire, all within just a couple minutes? Now, again, I do know that Wally's soon-to-be ex-wife at the time did get in trouble for perjury. I can't, again, I don't care. How do I want to word this? Like, I don't really want to say like, hey, this person was a horrible person and this person was a horrible person and this person was accused of this. I just think Wally was just a kind of an easy target. in my opinion, because he was already in trouble. I guess my question would be, why is this town sweeping this under the rug? Why did they? Why it was kind of like this non-existent thing, like, oh well, it happens. That to me baffles me. Why wasn't this like solved? Why didn't they have enough evidence for Wally to be accused of it if everybody still wants to say that he did? And honestly, he's passed away. So at this point, we're just never going to know. Her dad's gone, so on and so forth. But I guess what I'm saying is, I think we owe it to, especially her, to try to figure out who did it. Because like I said, everybody supposedly has seen her that night. It was at the bowling alley, then at IGA, then at the laundromat. Now, I know that we had this discussion before where supposedly she was seen leaving town in Wally's car. Turns out that's not true. It was other girls, from what I'm understanding. And not going to name any names. But if that's the case, well, who did it? And why is there only divided between her dad and Wally? Like I said, I think Wally was the easier target. And I know a lot of people are like, nope, it was him, it was him, it was him, it was him, it was him. There was no evidence to say that it was him. And I think that's where it gets a little sticky. But then it also gets sticky with her dad. Like, how do you get on the stand and say, well, I just had this gut feeling that my daughter was in this fire? And no offense, but that is not the first place that I would go look for my missing daughter at all. Okay. It would make sense to maybe, if somebody says, hey, like her body, there was no body out there. The fireman out there did say that her body was not out there by any means. Like they basically said that when a body perishes in a fire, there is an odor to it. Completely understand. I get it. But her body had gasoline on it. So again, she was placed there. It wouldn't make sense like, oh, I'm going to start a fire and only some of her body is going to be on fire. Well, her dad, from what I'm understanding, is her dad only identified her from her braces. So I'm not 110% if it was, again, I heard that it was only her bottom half of her body. But if he could only identify her from her braces, that becomes a little bit of an issue too. Now, again, I can't tell you what clothes she had on. I can't do that. But I do know that her hands were tied behind her back. So what would be the purpose of that? And where was she stabbed? I mean, again, if we want to go back to what Wally's wife said in court, he left at 7:20. It's only 20 minutes. 20 minutes. But her watch stopped at 7:35. So again, it was a conversation before. And we had this conversation on Remember Me. He could have killed her, left her body someplace, decided, well, it was perfect timing for that fire, because I don't think he started it. To be honest with you, I really don't think he started it. And was like, okay, perfect timing. I'm going to go back and get her body. I'll wait until, the cops and, the firemen are gone. And I'm going to go out there and I'm going to set her body on fire. Okay. So again, and there was people that said, oh, well, I seen her in the back of Wally's car leaving town. Okay, that's great. But you're not going to get in a car. I mean, I know that I wouldn't, and a normal person wouldn't get in the back of a car with your dead friend in it unless they were helping. But it turns out it wasn't her in the back of that car leaving town. It wasn't even Wally's car, from what I'm understanding. Again, there's so much speculation around this case, but I do want to let everybody know too, it's just my opinions. It's just conversations that I've had, and it is just newspaper articles that I read. And again, you are more than welcome to look up those newspaper articles. There's a YouTube video on it. I guess where I'm trying to get at with this is somebody in these little towns, because these towns are very, very little, and we all talk, okay, and we're all up in each other's business. Kind of already know, you make one bad move, and everybody knows about it. So you're telling me that somebody on that bar stool, probably tonight or tomorrow night, doesn't exactly know what happened? Because somebody does, and all it takes is one person to slip up or just say, hey, I know what happened, because that person is still alive. I full-heartedly believe that. Or maybe they moved out of town and they just don't want to be bothered with it. But honestly, I really do believe that this poor girl deserves justice. And as we all know, that the anniversary of her death was yesterday, which I found very coincidental when I actually was going to do this case. And I was like, okay, there was a little bit of a push to do that. Not sure why, but I thought that was kind of cool. Again, I really think that just trying to keep her memory alive and keep everybody, just keep talking about it, because somebody, like I said, somebody out there knows about it. And again, this isn't still, it is a cold case. It's still kind of, sometimes all it is an anonymous tip. And I think that's what everybody is looking for. But again, I just noticed a lot of people are like, oh, well, we'll just push it under the rug. It doesn't pertain to us. We don't have to do any of it. Well, it does. Because if it was my child, I wouldn't just say, well, too bad, she's gone. No big deal. It is a big deal. And it should be a big deal to her family. It should be a big deal to her friends. And it should just be a big deal to that town. You can't just say, well, he did it. But again, he wasn't accused of it. They didn't have enough evidence to say, okay, Wally, you've done this. There wasn't enough. So how can you pin it on somebody that you didn't have enough evidence for? And on top of it, this guy defended himself in court. Okay, that should say something there. So I guess, like I'm trying to get at is, I don't believe that it was Wally. Maybe he was a horrible person. I don't know, because I didn't know him. Maybe he was a great person. I don't know. I didn't know him. Was he accused of rape? He was accused of it. Again, somebody bailed him out. He had a $50,000 bond. Somebody bailed him out. And again, that's in the paper. Okay. But I think it was just a lot easier to accuse somebody of something because it was easy, because he was already in trouble, to that whole next level. And I know a lot of people will say, well, I didn't get drunk and I don't kill anybody or I don't rape anybody. You're right. Normal people don't. But we can't say that he did it. We can't say that her dad did it. But what we can say is she was seen. She did die. She was stabbed. We can't, again, as far as the rape thing goes with that, again, it's just speculation. I've never read anything about that. I know a lot of people are saying, I don't believe it. Again, I never read any news articles stating that she was. But again, small towns talk. And I think if we kind of just piece some of this together, like I tried to do, and bounce some theories off one another, I think this could be solved. And like I said, there's somebody still out there that's probably sitting on that bar stool right now, tonight, probably thinking, oh, I know what happened, but I'm not going to think about it. Well, the truth of the matter is, I think about it. People in Minonk should think about it. People in the area should think about it. Because again, this could happen to any one of our kids, especially with the carnivals and everything else that come into town. There's always out of town people. come into town. You don't know what's going to happen when you think that your community is safe. Because again, you go to Minonk and you think the community is safe, and everybody pretty much knows everybody. So you're telling me not one person in that town knows nothing. They don't know anything. I call bullshit on that. Bullshit. Now, again, I don't believe Wally started that fire. I believe that there was some kids out there. And yeah, I'm going to take a really quick second. Yes, Jan. Jan thinks about it, and I know Jan. And the case does need to be solved. Again, I do not believe that Wally started that fire. I don't believe that. Okay, I believe that there was kids out there. They were probably just partying because, again, it's a small town. There's nothing for kids to do. Still to this day, there's really not a bunch of stuff for kids to do. So again, if you want to just drive around, I don't know why you'd want to drive around in a snowstorm. I don't even know why you'd want to meet your friends in a snowstorm. But again, times were different then. So again, I don't believe he started that fire. I think the kids were out there. I think that whoever killed her thought, oh, great, this is a perfect opportunity. Okay. So again, if it was the case that Wally did do it, how is it that he had time to start a fire, like I said before, kill somebody? Where is he going to put a body at that point? Like where is he going to put a body? And you're telling me if there's kids, supposedly there was 3 people out there. They start this fire and then you see somebody come with a body and it's like, oh, well, no big deal. I'm just going to start this body on fire too. Because from what I'm understanding is, and I was told this, her body was found in the barn there. I was under a different impression. I don't know where her body was found because, again, it's just speculation. I was assuming that she was outside. Somebody said that she was in the house. I don't know. It didn't tell me. All I know is that the firemen out there, again, everybody's like, well, everybody was uptown drinking and it doesn't matter who was doing what. The problem is the firemen out there said her body was not there. Her dad said, well, they had to, basically she had to be out there when the fire started. So you're telling me 3 people supposedly that were out there, 3 kids that were supposedly out there, didn't see somebody drive up, dump a body, start it on fire. Well, they're trying to get away. And we're like, not a big deal. And then these 3 kids are gone for a couple days. They're like vanished into thin air. And then one of them supposedly was burnt. That just kind of gives me that indication like, hey, they probably were out there. They're probably screwing around. And that's the end of that. But again, I do not want to go ahead and accuse Wally of doing it. And again, I don't know she would have been his ex-wife now. But I don't care what kind of person she was. Maybe she was telling the truth. Maybe he did come home drunk. And maybe he did leave at 7:20 to go up to the theater to do something. That's, again, in a snowstorm. There's no possible way he had time to snatch her up, kill her, and then start her on fire. And when did he have time to start a fire? I mean, honestly, and then still manage to come home and still manage to drink. I mean, that's a lot. Okay. From, 6 o'clock to 7:35 when you think about it. I mean, that's not a lot of time. I wouldn't even have time to start a fire, try to find somebody, lure him into my car, tie him up, stab him, and then set them on fire. That right there in itself makes absolutely no sense. Okay. And on top of it, be drunk. To me, that just seems impossible. Okay. And again, the town is divided. Some people said it was her dad. Okay. Well, why would you say that? Again, in court, he's like, well, I had this intuition that she was out there, so I went out there. And I know, again, this conversation that I had with somebody, he did say, again, he went and, maybe he exhausted all of his, efforts to try to find her. And maybe he did. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe he said, maybe it was the last place he looked, obviously. But again, from what I'm understanding, he only identified her from her braces. Okay. But you're telling me that if, let's say, Wally stabbed her in the car and tied her up and whatnot, there's not any evidence in his car. Did anybody look? We don't know. I don't know. But again, like I said, there's people out there that are still alive that I know don't want to talk about it. I know a lot of people at that point just wanted to push it. You just shove it under the rug. It's not a big deal. Well, why? Why? Why is it? Why did they just kind of say, well, screw it? I mean, that to me in itself, like, again, that's your child. Like, why wouldn't you try to get some kind of justice for your child and say, well, it's not a big deal. Let's just not talk about it anymore. Let's pretend that it never happened. Well, it did happen. And again, why wouldn't you? It's your child. Why wouldn't you do anything in the world to try to figure out who killed your child? I mean, I would. And then on top of it, this is what I don't understand. If it was Wally, okay, and he's walking free after this murder, let me ask you this. I would kill somebody. I mean, I can't say I would kill somebody, but I'd be livid with somebody that this supposed killer is walking around town that supposedly killed my kid. Okay. How do you look somebody in the eye on that? I mean, look at some of the people that, like, they're raping kids or whatnot. And, these people are killing, their accuser. I would be so pissed off at that point. I don't even know how I could control myself. Exactly, Jan. I will say that. The people that know, they should call and be anonymous. You don't have to give your name. Okay. Just, I don't know how you would do it. There has to be some kind of tip line out there someplace that you could. But the question is, why doesn't anybody want to talk? Exactly, Sonny. That's the thing. Why doesn't anybody want to talk? Again, it doesn't matter if Wally was accused of rape. I think he was just an easy target. And I know I'll probably get a lot of grief for that, but the truth of the matter is I really believe that it was her dad in some form of way. Now, from what I'm understanding, and I don't know how true it is, I believe, and maybe Jan and Sonny know this, that her dad was a cop. I don't know how true that is, but let's just be honest, okay? If that was the case, and her dad did kill her, that'd be an easy cover-up back then, wouldn't it? I mean, if you think about it, it really would. Now, the question is, I understand that maybe she wasn't like the best child in the world, and sometimes my kids aren't like the greatest either. They can be a little bit of a pain. But at the same time, if everybody is claiming she was such a disgrace to her family, but again, why wouldn't her family be like, okay, this person in my, family, and why to this day they not want any justice for it? And that's what I'm saying. And Jan, you're very much right. I mean, somebody can call in. Like I said, somebody out there knows. And I do believe that maybe those 3 people out at that house that night that I believe set that house on fire. I do not believe that it was Wally. That was just way too much time. I mean, he must have had way too much time on his hands to do all of this. But again, it doesn't make sense. And it turns out it wasn't Kathy and her friends in Wally Davis's car. It wasn't even Wally Davis, from what I'm understanding. So again, it's just kind of one of those things that's just way too much time. But then, like I said, it doesn't make any sense. How can how can this guy get, supposedly there's not enough evidence, right? And everybody in this town just living with it. Well, this guy supposedly that was accused of it is just walking around town. Again, I would be livid. I don't even know how I would react to that, to be honest with you. And you guys can't say that you guys would. I think everybody would react a little bit different, but I will tell you this, I would be livid. I would probably try to make that person's life a living hell. If you just killed my kid and, just basically got off. Doesn't make sense, does it? It doesn't make sense. Regardless of Wally getting in trouble, makes no sense. Again, this public knowledge, you can go read the paper. To me, my theory is, I think he was drinking. Yeah, whatever. Maybe he did go home. Maybe he did leave to go up to the theater to help. And there's just not enough time. There was never enough time. And I know Jan and Sonny know that was never, ever, there would not be, in 20 minutes, there was not enough time that night. Exactly, Jan. I will say that, yeah, we would all be on the hunt trying to, whoever hurt our child, if that person was released from, but I guess if there was no solid evidence against him, I mean, what are you going to do? And I know that, like I said, he was an easy target, but all these people, like I said, there's still somebody out there. I can guarantee you're probably sitting on some bar stool someplace, and it's probably just in the back of your mind like it's nothing. Well, justice does need to be served in this case. Yeah. Okay, yeah, Jan. Yeah, she does. She does really have to she does deserve justice, just like everybody else that, has unsolved cases. Everybody deserves justice. And this case doesn't make any sense because, again, it's like all speculation. And again, I'm not trying to say anything negative about anybody in Minonk. That is not what I'm trying to say. And I'm not trying to down Minonk because I spent a lot of time in Minonk myself. But again, you can't sweep it under the rug. And we cannot not talk about this case. And again, let's just try not to shove everything under the rug. As we know, we can't do that. We just can't, especially this case. And this is why I find this case so bizarre, because nobody really knows who did it. And then again, the town is divided. Her dad, because supposedly she was with her dad when the alarms went off. That was one theory. There's so many theories in this case, nobody even knows. And then everybody thinks they've seen her here and there and all over the place. Man, I know that you could be all over the place. You guys know that. Sonny and Jano. We all know that you could be all over the place, just walking uptown. It's not that big of a town. But I guess my question is, why report your kid missing at 4:00 in the morning? That makes absolutely no sense. Like, if after you've called everybody, now it's time to start calling the cops. Or are you waiting? I mean, how long do you wait until your kid decides they're going to walk through that door? Because I wouldn't wait that long. An hour is pushing it. Okay? An hour is pushing it. And if she was supposed to call for a ride home at 10:15, I think by 11 o'clock, I would have, already have had the, people called, and then I would have reported her missing, not at 4:00 in the morning. I mean, why wait that long? Sorry, I got people texting me about this case already. Not anything bad. But again, I want everybody to know that there is somebody still out there that knows something. I'm not saying the killer's still out there. I don't believe that. But I do believe that Wally he didn't start that fire. I don't believe he did it. And nobody has to agree with me. And I know, given the information that I was given today, with the conversation that I had earlier, I know that person was there, not technically there, and knows who killed her. But it gives you a lot to think about. Like I said, to this day, I don't think it's Wally. I think it was easy. I think it was just an easy target, to be honest with you. He was just easy to blame at that point. And it's a lot less, it's not as easy to blame, a parent at that time. But again, times were different then. I guess kids then could still, well, technically kids still roam around that town. I mean, you guys know this, but I guess, like I said, everybody in that town knows everybody. And if they don't know somebody, they're going to find out who that person is eventually. But you're telling me not one person in that town doesn't know anything? I'm calling bullshit on that. Sorry, guys. I really am. I don't believe it was Wally. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. That's fine. I'm entitled to my own opinion. I don't believe it was him. Like I said, I think it was her dad, in my opinion. But as far as the rape goes, I've never read anything about that. Again, it was speculation. A lot of people say that that didn't happen. A lot of people say that it did. Again, we don't know. I didn't see it in the paper. Nobody technically knows. Do I know that she was stabbed? Yeah, I do know that she was stabbed. But the question of the matter is, when does he have time to drive her out to this, fire that was put out, stab her, tie her up, and then burn her? Because supposedly her clothes did smell like gasoline. So again, if anybody here has any information, call anonymously and just leave a tip. Honestly, just do it, because this case has always been a little bit of a mystery to me. Jan, I don't know. Actually, we were just talking about something like that just a little bit earlier, and we were again, I'm not going to name any names, but we were just talking about maybe her body probably needs to be resumed here. Sorry, I'm all over the place. And probably do some DNA. But the problem is, who are we going to get? I mean, a family member, I would assume, would have to do that. To even get permission to do that. And I guess you'd have to just get permission from somebody. And I'm sure since the case is still open, I don't know if that's even a possibility, if they want to do that or if they just don't want to do it. Like I said, there's going to be things about this case that I guess nobody knows. But like I said, I hope one day, just keeping the story out, especially just kind of going over it and all the speculation, I think that one day, maybe one day, this case could get solved, or just somebody coming forward. And I'm going to tell you this, I'm not going to stop talking about this case. Because it doesn't make sense. It does not make sense. Like I said, you can be in that town. You could be everywhere in that town. Somebody could say that I was up at the gym. Let's just be honest. I'm probably not going to be at the gym. Or I was, at a bar, right? All in a span of 20 minutes, right? Which is a possibility, which is a big possibility. But if I went missing, well, who was I with? Who took me? Would that be something that somebody would just sweep under the rug? Because I really believe that this case, that's kind of what it was. It was just kind of one of those things, like everybody just quit talking about it. They just assumed that it was Wally and that was the end of it. But again, we just don't know. And in my theory, I don't think it was Wally. I really don't. And nobody has to agree with it. The times don't make sense. And even if his wife did get in trouble for perjury, we don't really know if it was this case or a different case or any of it. She could have been telling the truth, and I understand that makes a perfect alibi. It really, really does. But at the same time, we don't know. You guys weren't there. I wasn't there, but somebody was. Somebody else was, somebody seen something. We don't know who started that fire. But again, who's going to really come forward and say, yes, I'm the one that started that fire? They could be in trouble for that too. It's trouble all around. Let's just be honest. So on that note, I want to let you guys go. I want you guys to think about this. And I want you to know that if there's any information, like any information that you have on this, you don't have to give your name. You don't have to do any of it. Just call, tell them what you know, and leave it at that. And hopefully there could be some justice, for her. I mean, she deserves it just like every other person. And it's not, it's not just her. It's a bunch of people that have unsolved cases, but this will not be the first and last time I talk about this. So on that note, I'll let everybody go for the night. And again, I'm just glad that we can all have, well, people in the chat too. We could all talk about it, share it out. And like I said, let's just get people talking about it. Let's all talk about it again. So on that note, I'll let you guys go. I know it's Friday, so I will see you guys next week. Thank you.